Hi everyone. In today's video, we are going to learn about top 25 Agile Business Analyst interview questions and answers. Let's get started. So the very first question they are going to ask you is, what are the roles and responsibilities of an Agile Business Analyst? Can you please explain with examples? So there are about 6 to 7 roles and responsibilities of an Agile Business Analyst for any project. The first is you need to analyze the current business processes. For example, what is the currently how is that system working? What is the data flow? And why we need an enhancement? Or if this is like a completely manual project and now they want to automate things. So you need to understand currently what is the process that the business owners are following and why we need enhancement, or if there is some kind of like automation already happened and this is a enhancement project. So you need to understand first of all the current data flow and in future how it needs to be enhanced. And the second responsibility is, once you understand the data flow and how the currently how the project is working, now you need to identify improvements and you need to propose some solutions. For example, you have a I'm going to show you with an example. So let me take a project. So, um, okay. So for example, we have a WhatsApp project. Okay. So let's say that WhatsApp, the application, mobile application, whatever we are using, it is a current project and they have some existing functionalities, but they want to improve and they want to maybe add some new functionalities. So if you are working as a agile business analyst for WhatsApp, first what you have to do is you need to understand what are the existing functionalities of that application. So you're able to send messages, you're able to send pictures, you're able to send voice notes, and you're able to like or comment on others' messages, and also you are able to view like what is the history of the conversation and everything. Okay, so that is the existing functionality. Suppose if there is a requirement, like for example we want to like delete, like you send a message and within like a few seconds or something, maybe within 50 seconds or maybe 30 seconds you can delete the conversation. So that is an enhancement. Now you need to understand that this can be area of improvement, right? So there are some existing functionalities, but you can always identify some new key areas where the changes needs to be done, and it can be improved. So I'm just giving you an example so that you can understand. So WhatsApp is a mobile application, so they have some existing functionalities, and if they want to, you can identify what are the new functionalities that we can improve in that mobile application, and you can also propose the solutions. And the third one is you need to analyze the data. So, for example, you need to identify what are the existing trends and patterns, and for example, last 1 month, how that application was used and how many bugs were identified in production, and like how many times the system was down because of a particular functionality, and how many times people were uninstalling that application, and what is the reason? Is it because of the bugs found or because of the privacy issues? So some, like many people, like they don't want to use WhatsApp, right? They uninstall and they don't want to continue use that mobile application. So you can always take that trend and you can also identify what is the existing data for the past month, and you need to analyze the data. So once you analyze the data, now you are going to create user stories, tasks, and defects. So if you are a normal business analyst, right, if you're not following agile methodology, then you will be like creating BRDs, and that is like traditional way of gathering requirements and developing the application. But for agile business analyst, very important role is like you have to create this user stories, task, and defects. So for example, this Jira software, that whatever I'm showing in the screen, this is one of the primary like tools that you will be using in your work. So you need to create, for example, if I click on create, you need to create all these issue types. For example, it can be a story, it can be a task, or it can be an epic, or it can be a bug. So will be your primary roles and responsibility of creating user stories, creating bugs. Bugs means defects, and you have to create task. So if in the interview they ask you like, what was your primary responsibility, you have to tell like, for example, I was responsible for creating these user stories, these tasks, and these defects. So this will be your primary responsibility of an agile. If you are in an agile project, this will be your primary responsibility. Okay. And the next is negotiation and stakeholder management. So what is negotiation and stakeholder management? So you will have different stakeholders, right? For example, you will have business owners. So who is a stakeholder? Anybody involving in the project is called as stakeholders. It can be business owners, it can be developers, or you are dealing with multiple teams, internal teams, external vendors. So you need to have proper stakeholder management skills. If you are a lead agile business analyst, you need to know how to like lead a call, how to gather requirements with various stakeholders, how to make sure that there are no conflicts between various teams, how to make sure that if there is a dependency on other teams, we need to make sure that that dependency is completed right before we start the project. If you have some dependency on external vendors, we need to clearly like understand how long it will take for them to create that dependency product and give it to us. So negotiation and stakeholder management is crucial. The next one is resolving conflicts. So in every project, there will always be conflicts. You need to understand the reason for conflicts and why it is occurring, and you have to take necessary steps. So escalation is not the like a proper way, right? So you can escalate, but how long you'll be escalating and how many times you'll be escalating. If you have some leading capacity, you need to like resolve the conflicts internally, because always escalating to your manager is not an ideal solution. If you need to be capable of resolving conflicts within yourself, within your team, or if you have any conflicts with an external team, with your developers or with their engineers, you need to have the capacity to resolve conflicts. And the last one is achieving business goals. So whatever may be the project, at the end of the day, we need to make sure all the business goals and needs are achieved, and we have to make sure that satisfaction is achieved among all parties. So meeting objectives and achieving business goals is the like the final responsibility of an agile business analyst. So the next question is, what is agile manifesto, and explain in detail. So I'm in this Atlassian software page, so where they've clearly told about what is Agile Manifesto and what are the principles for following Agile methodology. So there are about like 12 principles. Let's go through that in detail. So what they're saying, what are the principles behind Agile is, the first priority is to satisfy customer in the like by how? By early and continuous delivery of a software. So it's a valuable software. So we need to make sure that we are developing a software very quickly, and we are continuously delivering a valuable software. Okay, that's the first principle. And the second principle is, whenever we are having changing in the requirements, even in the very last stage of development, we are able to make that change, and we are going to make sure that change is done. Okay. And also, we need to make sure that in a very, very shorter time scale, for example, in a couple of weeks to couple of months, we have some kind of working software. So very, very quickly, we are able to develop the software, test it, and we are going to make sure that software is available in production. Also, business people and developers must work together daily throughout the project. So means like every day you'll be having requirement gathering calls. Every day you're going to have status meetings. Every day you're going to have um, like sprint planning meetings and all that. So you're going to make sure you're going to closely work with the business people, so that whatever software that we are developing, is going to be like satisfying, right? At the end of the day, the business owners needs to be satisfied, so that we are going to clearly communicate on what are the status of the development of a software, how are we progressing, and we are going to make sure that every feature according to their expectation is achieved throughout the development of the software. So build projects around motivated individuals, give them the environment and support they need, and trust them to get the job done. So we are going to make sure that, since like this is a team effort, so if one individual is motivated, we are not going, then product is not going to be great. So everybody in the team who is developing the software has to have this agile mindset. For example, this will be like a very quick way of developing the software, right? So within like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, the business owners want to see the final product. So there can be pressure during the development or during testing or during UAT testing. You can find all kinds of pressures, but we should always have that mindset of this is an agile project. Things are going to be very quick, and it's not like waterfall where it's going to take months to create a software. So here, everything is going to be measurable, everything is going to be quick, and business owners are going to track our all our user stories. They're going to see our like progress in the user stories. They're going to ask us so many questions regarding the status of the user stories. So we need to have that motivation. Like every individual should be like motivated so that we can deliver the software quickly to the business owners. And the most and effective way of conveying any information and also within the development team is face to face. So this is all before COVID, right? So before COVID, we used to have that sprint planning meetings or this PI meetings, sprint retrospective in the office, where everybody will come and like we have to sit together and discuss and all that, every user story on the Jira board, and it will be like fun having those kind of meetings. But after COVID, right, it is all like virtual now, and most of the companies are following hybrid model of like you can work from home as well as if you want you can go to office. So this is being reduced to now, but earlier all the sprint meetings will be actually face to face. So working software is the primary measure of a progress. So they don't care about like the documentation part. So you create all these stories, everything is documented, fine, that's good. But finally what they want is a working software. And also the agile processes, right, like they promote like development, sustainable development means you are going to like deliver product and like a constant pace. Okay, so the developers, the testers, and also the business owners, you have to like work with regular intervals, and you have to like constant attention is needed. You have to like monitor developers and testers like constantly, so that you're actually having some kind of control on over the software, right? Because you cannot be like waiting for months and then finally if you see the software you're not happy with that. So what they're trying to say is like constant attention and communication within the technical team too. So that's what they're saying. So continuous attention to technical excellence, and good design enhances agility. Agility means constantly the requirements may be changing, but we need to make sure our development team is like accustomed to those kind of changes, and we are going to make sure that is achieved. So finally the goal is like we are going to have a working software, and the best architectures, requirements, and designs emerge from self-organizing teams. So this is one thing. So you may be working with multiple teams, and you are like, why should I bug that team? Okay, my work is done, so I should keep quiet. So that's not a good way of like uh, working in a project, right? If even though if your work is done, your team's work is done, you need to follow up with, if you have a dependency with other teams, or if you are having a dependency with any business owners, you need to follow up on them. Okay, self-organizing the teams in a sense, you need to have that motivation of like working with other teams, or you need to like initiating a conversation or following up with them. If even if they are not progressing, you need to have that follow-up, like what is the status of user stories and all that. Okay, so that is self-organizing teams. Um, at regular intervals, the team reflects on how to become more effective, then tunes and adjusts its behavior accordingly. So agile is like a very fast way of like doing things. Okay, so earlier in waterfall method, You will take months to create a BRD. You will take months to like write all the like designing and giving the requirements to the developers. Again, for testing is going to take like 1 or 2 months. Finally, when the product is there, the business owners are like, this is not what I expected, and they're going to be like, it will take to see the final product, right? It's going to take months for them. But in Agile, it's not like that. So we have something called sprint. Okay, so it can be 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Within 3 weeks, they want some kind of working product. Within 2 weeks, they want something. They want to see the end product. So this is a very fast way of developing software. And in most of the companies, they want and working software over documentation. So what is Agile Manifesto? These are the principles. Individuals, individuals and interactions over processes and tools, and working software over documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, responding to a change over following up a plan. So that's what they're saying. You have to be like quick. You have to be like, don't show that like the shocking attitude of like, no, we already have a plan. Now you're asking us to change requirements. Can we do that? So the more agile is like, the more flexible we are in developing a product or a software, and the working software is like takes over anything. Okay, so they are not too much bothered about all this BRDs, FRDs, or all this like all this documentation thing. Okay, all they want is a working software, customers collaboration, all this like contract and all, they are not bothered. So they always say that um, customer satisfaction or customers collaboration and the final end product of a like a properly working software is the primary goal in in agile projects. Okay, so you have to keep in mind that. Don't be shocked, like if the owners can be constantly changing requirements, and you need to have that mindset of, okay, that's fine, this is an agile project, and we are going to take their request into consideration, and we are going to like make those changes. Okay, so if you're working in agile project, that will be a big difference. In waterfall, it's all slow and steady, and you're going to have some time processing all the new requirements and everything. But in agile, it's not like that. Within 2 weeks, there could be a change. Within 3 weeks, there could be a change. The final product can be completely like different, and when compared to the initial very first call, whatever you're having with the business owners. So you need to have that mindset for adapting this constantly changing the requirements. Okay, so the next question is, what is Scrum, and what are the Scrum values? So Scrum is nothing but it's a framework under Agile methodology. So uh, there are like different kinds of frameworks under Agile. When we say Agile, you have Scrum framework, you have Kanban, and you have like a hybrid model as well. So, but Scrum is primarily a framework. Like majority of the Fortune 100 companies, they use this framework. So it's nothing but they have a set of values and principles and practices. So we are going to understand what is Scrum and what are the ceremonies and practices inside Scrum framework. So the first thing is like they're going to ask, what is the difference between Scrum and Agile, right? Agile is nothing but it's a methodology. It's an overall methodology. Under Agile, you can have multiple frameworks like Scrum and Kanban and like hybrid models and all that. But specifically for Scrum, we need to understand that if your project is having Scrum framework, definitely there will be a Scrum team. So that team, we will be having a Scrum master, we will be having a product owner, and also we will be having developers and testers and um, business analysts. So we will definitely have a Scrum team. So the members of the Scrum team, definitely there will be a Scrum master. That's a big difference between Scrum and other frameworks. Okay. So under Scrum framework, definitely there will be a Scrum team, and that Scrum team will be of product owners, Scrum master, and a development team. So under development team, you will be having developers, testers, and also designers, and also a business analyst. So this is a crew. Okay, this is the members of a Scrum team. That's a very big difference between Scrum framework and other framework. Also, under Scrum framework, there are like certain values that we need to follow. So that is, those are called as Scrum values. So what are Scrum values in the sense? For example, there are about um, five different types of Scrum values. So one is commitment, second one is courage, third one is focus, fourth one is openness, and fifth one is respect. So these are the five different Scrum values. It's a very, very, very important interview question. So the interviewer is going to like they by asking this question, they are going to understand whether you really know about Scrum. Okay, what is Scrum team? How many people are there in Scrum team? What is this framework? What are the core Scrum values? So you have to say these are the five values. First of all, what is commitment? If you are under Agile methodology and if your team is under a Scrum team and you are one of the member of a Scrum team, what is like the commitment you are having towards the user stories that you are developing or the work that you are doing? You can be a business analyst, you can be a developer, you can be a tester, but the commitment, overall commitment is like you have to make sure that there is work in progress. So that's why we have daily stand-up meetings. Okay, whatever user stories that you are creating or whatever task that is assigned to you or as an agile team itself, we have to make sure that the entire team is committed and there should be frequent communication between all your development teams, scrum master and product owner. The second one is courage. So you should be brave enough to question the status of other user stories also. For example, you might have completed your user stories, but the developer's work was not completed or the tester's works may not be completed. In the daily stand-up call, you can always ask them, like, for example, what is the status? Do you have any delays? Do you have any roadblocks? Should you want, I mean, do you want me to schedule a call with the other teams? Do you want me to schedule a call with the business owners? So like this, you need to have a courage to ask questions between, like, you should not be like shy and you have to keep quiet. You should not be like, okay, I have done my part, now it is about like developer's headache to do his work or not. So that's not the value, right? The value is you should have courage to ask questions between your teams. Also raise a question if suppose like other team is having some dependency and they are not finishing their work, you need to ask them also the questions like why there is a delay and is there any roadblock or do you have any questions for business owners, like that you need to have courage to ask. The third one is focus. So what is the overall focus? You have to complete the work in that particular span of time. So sprint means, like in Scrum, we say sprint means it can be 2 weeks, it can be 3 weeks, it can be 4 weeks time span. Within that time, you have to like make sure that software is being developed right. So focus, the overall focus of the Scrum teams is like to make sure that your work, your task, or your commitment towards for that particular sprint is like completed. So focus is always to make sure that you have some working software and your work is completed. And the fourth one is openness. So in the daily stand-up meeting, you definitely have to ask, what work did I do yesterday? What am I working today? Or there are any issues that is blocking my work? And you need to identify blockers and you have to make sure that you like share it with other engineers and other testers or also Scrum Master to make sure that you are progressing on your work. The fifth one is respect. Since because we have a short time period and you are like collaborating with multiple team members and also multiple departments and also multiple vendors, so you may have like so many conflicts and you may be like at some point of time you may get frustrated also because of this coordination. You always have to make sure this is a professional environment. You have to maintain respect and always ask questions in a more professional manner rather than being rude. Okay, so these are the uh, five different values of Scrum.